I always like to joke that when we're talking about technology, something's going to go wrong with our technology, so we can check that box and get started. I hope you all had a really good lunch. It's always challenging to go after lunch because I feel like it's nap time for all of us. So, but we think the information that we have to share with you all today will be interesting enough to keep everybody awake. All right, so today we're talking about technology supports and opportunities to build independence and enhance someone's connections across all areas of their life. I would like to first introduce our panelists. I call them our technology champions, and I say that because the people seated here are here because they are passionate about technology. They are actively working with our office to help build our technology supports continuum. So to add and increase options to access technology through OCDD supports. So furthest from me is Felicia Woolens. In the middle is Abby Ross. And on the end is Jamie Duplashane, Annalise Gaffey, who is not here today, but who you will see in several videos. They form our self-advocate groups, and so they are representing our self-advocate group today. Kevin in the office is also a part of that, and he contributed a couple of pictures to today's presentation and his use of technology. In addition to them, seated in between Abby and Felicia is Yakima Black, and she is with Latan, and she's going to share some information. They are Louisiana's Assistive Technology Act program. So she will share some information about the ways Latan can work with people to increase their knowledge and access to technology. And then seated between Abby and Jamie is Hillary Miller. She's with Quality Support Coordination. And both Hillary and Jamie also are members of our Technology Supports Focus Group. So I share this. You see the champions seated here, but there are many, many more people both within the office and within the larger stakeholder system providers that participate by way of our focus group. And last but certainly not least, we have Christy Johnson, our waiver director, who works with her team in terms of expanding technology options within waiver services. My name is Amy, and I'm moderating today. We'd like for you to think about technology as a tool, and much as we all have toolbox filled with different types of tools, technology can be the same way. We don't just use hammers. Sometimes we need a screwdriver. Sometimes we need a drill. Sometimes you start very basic before you get comfortable with more formal or specialized tools. Technology is the same way. And we're really focused on how technology can be used in addition to any other type of support that someone is already using to enhance their level of independence. So really taking the person from whatever they were able to do without technology, and then with the addition of technology, expanding their ability to be a little bit more independent or to improve their connections to the people that are important to them, the places, the things, day-to-day activities, as well as their hobbies and leisure activities. We built today's discussion around information we received from the larger community. OCDD conducted a survey that was developed by the focus group to see what type of technology are people currently using. And this is the representation of that response. We saw that people were using some forms of technology to improve independence, to learn new skills, to connect with the people that are important to them, to enhance their safety, to connect with healthcare providers. There's many, many different ways. And as you'll hear from our panelists today, they will be talking about how they use technology, which is consistent with what we heard across the state by way of the survey responses. We also learned about some barriers to technology. You can't have a technology discussion without the question of cost coming up. Some technology is more expensive than others, although I hope today we're also able to share ways in which you can discover lower cost technology options or even options that are free to try out. We know that with smart technology, there's not only the purchase of the particular device, but also some monthly costs that are often associated. So that needs to be considered. Some folks said that they're going to need some help to use technology, either help to learn how to use it, or for people who also need support from other people, whether it's family members, caregivers, providers, helping them learn how to use the technology that can then support the person. Some folks were not sure. They just need more information. They don't know whether technology would be useful. They might not even know whether or not they're currently using technology. And then finally, some folks said, nothing's stopping me from using it, or I've already got some forms of technology, but I would like to learn more and to use more. So we're hoping today is a start in sharing some tips and maybe tricks of technology that we're currently using. All right, I'm going to start by turning it over to Yakima, and she's going to give us a more sophisticated definition of technology than what I said. So Yakima, for folks who maybe aren't using technology or need to have more information about what we're talking about today, can you share some information about what is assistive technology?
Sure. Assistive technology is any piece of equipment or tool used to assist someone to do something in simple terms. Technology can be low tech. I see many of us that are wearing glasses. We never think about that or haven't thought about this as assistive technology, but it actually is. It helps us to see, whether it's low vision or you need more advanced technology that connects with the internet or more electronics. Technology ranges from I think about my grandparents using, or just myself, having to lift my hand up to reach something off the shelf, and maybe it was a broom that I used to do that, or something to help me scratch my back. Assistive technology is as simple as anything that we use to help us do something. It's all about the activity, and it can be used to support the activities that might be otherwise difficult for any of us. AT is also, AT for short, it is individualized and based on whatever your needs, whatever your goals are, whatever your abilities are. And we focus specifically on what you're able to do with whatever parts of your body that you're able to do it with. In assistive technology, we don't necessarily think about a medical condition or a physical limitation as causing the disability. What is limiting, or that creates the quote disability, is actually the environment. So for instance, if there is someone who like my colleagues here that are wheelchair users, but where they need to drive their wheelchair is doesn't have cutouts, or the doors are not wide enough. It's not the fact that they're using the wheelchair that's the issue. It's the fact that the environment created the barrier. And so once we think about how we assist someone and looking for supports for them, we're concerned with where do you need to use that technology, or technology, the equipment, device, etc. Where does it need to be used? And in fact, how can we adapt the environment to better meet that person's needs? We consider the goals that you may have. For instance, if someone is wanting to be more independent in dressing or performing activities of daily living more independently, what is it specifically that we can identify that can help you do that better for yourself? We combine various forms of technology supports and options. So, and I'm thinking in this case when there is a instance where maybe we're looking at a speech generating device and someone is needing to communicate or send a text message. It's the text, the actual tablet itself plus the software that goes along with that combines technologies. It's not usually one particular item that works. It can be, but it's not necessarily only that. Again, the focus is not about identifying the types of technology, but it really is discussing with people more so what is it that you're interested in doing, and what are your goals going forward, whether it's in recreation or leisure activities, but also where do you need to do those things, and finding those solutions out for someone.
Thanks, Yukima. Can you also help us understand, like, how does someone, especially someone that maybe isn't using technology already, how would they know whether technology is right for them?
So there's various ways that we do that. We want to, well, first, if you came to Latan and to talk and find out, so you come to Latan with the Louisiana Assistive Technology Access Network. Our role is to help to talk about technology from a standpoint of access and then make people aware of technology. Someone may be a gamer and interested in playing video games, and but they're not able to access switches and don't simply know that there are switches available to help someone play video games, but also that. So you would contact us and simply say, hey, is such and such types of technology out there to help me play video games? You would talk with, so that's one way. So you would contact Latan. The next way is, there's support coordinators for those who are receiving waiver services as well. Your family members, other allied health professionals, occupational therapists are there. We often work with not just simply our AT professionals, but have to work in concert and should work in concert with who we call the entire team, or the assistive technology team that is looking to blend our resources and also our educational backgrounds to help identify. I should also be very clear and say that the role that we play in assistive technology service delivery is very much so person-centered. So we say the AT user driving and helping us to help determine and help identify the most appropriate solution for that individual. And so the conversation really is, I want to do thus so. There's an activity that I'm interested in being supported in to be more independent. And now the next steps are talking about how do you access whatever that technology is and exploring whatever the resources are that are available. It's usually not an issue that something doesn't exist. It really is about research and development.
Can you share some information about the various programs that Latan has?
Sure. We, as mentioned before, you said that we are the Assistive Technology Act program for the state. We still call it the Act because it's the legislation that allows 56. So there's 50 of us in each state, and then 6 territories that are all designed to essentially do the same thing. So some are universities, some are nonprofits like Latan, but for the most part, there are 4 core services that we provide that allows people to gain access to and awareness of assistive technology, and it comes in the form of demonstrations We have we have an exhibit outside where there's a couple of different types of technology, from cooking, there's a stove out there, or oven, the Brava. There's some communication devices. We demonstrate those types of technologies in forums like this or one-on-one at our demonstration center to allow folks to play and we literally say play with this stuff. So you can't break it. So well, I guess some you can break. I guess if you slam it down hard, you can break it. But most times we look for technologies that are easy to use and easy to manipulate with less error, which is one of the goals that we're constantly thinking about. But you want to be able to hold it, to touch it, to manipulate it, to find out is it the best feature for you. And we do that through demonstrations. Consultations also allow us to really just sit down with you along with assessments to explore what you may want to do and really get down to the details that are more specific to how you plan to use technology today, and also help you plan for the use of technology maybe a year from now. So there's a good bit of follow-up along the way. So there's the device loan program that we have, and that's essentially a borrowing program. So once we demonstrate a device, ultimately what we don't want is some of this stuff can be expensive, right? So we don't want people to buy equipment and then you're stuck with it if it doesn't work. It's kind of like, I always think about a mattress, you sit on it, you test it out in the store, and you think that it's gonna work great, and then you get home with it, and that mattress, after a couple of nights of sleeping, and you're kind of stuck with it. It doesn't work for you, as an example. And so the device loan program allows the user to try it out for about 30 days up to 90 days. Either it works for you or it doesn't work. If it doesn't work and you're ready to make a decision, then we can explore other features and talk to you further about what didn't work about that technology before you actually purchase it. The goal is to prevent abandonment of the technology and also just a waste of resources and money. And then there's our marketplace. So it's gently used devices. So once someone is finished with the device and they're ready to move on to the next level of technology, and they're saying, hey, I've already paid for this. I'm ready to donate it back to Latan so that somebody else can use it. Those are ways that people can acquire technology. And then we also have the alternative financial programs. And then there's insurance that's available. And I'm jumping ahead of where we want to be.
You're leading us right there.
Yeah.
Christy, can you talk about some other funding options, besides that?
Thanks, Yakima. So in addition to what Yakima has shared related to sort of the opportunities that are available through Latan, we've had the opportunity over the course of the last, 2 years now, right, to partner and work with Latan to be able to develop a service within our waiver. And I'm not even going to say a service. Within our current structure for specialized medical equipment, we've been able to build out that definition to include technology with remote features. We've built in the opportunity, so some people don't know where to start, as Yakima said, so we've got the opportunity for people to access and request an assessment to figure out what technology will work best for them. And then, or if they know what they want, we have a consultation option, right? So there's different mechanisms to then pay for some of those supports there, and then we're able to purchase or acquire that technology for those individuals that are accessing waiver. So we've just started. We're really starting to kick off. And then on top of waivers, sometimes through your private insurance, there are other opportunities to access certain forms of technology or assistive devices, and that would include Medicaid state plan. Other insurance, if you have private insurance, might cover those things. So really excited to be able to work with Latan on this option and continue to explore with our panelists on how it works for them and where we go from here.
What I didn't say, I think more so, was the benefits of using technology. And I think that there are many benefits to use technology, but essentially it really is simply supporting people to do the things that they would otherwise find difficult in doing. And so technology enables people to be more independent in whatever area that they are needing to be more independent in, whether it's at work or school or just simply recreation and leisure. Several years ago, we were not able to, and I'm saying not able to, the legislation was expanded in December 2022 that allowed for AT programs to even explore technologies that are available for recreation and leisure as a part of community inclusion. And so the benefits to the use of technology, I think more so are increasing independence and making folks more independent within the community that they live in whatever area that you want to be more independent in. And so I think it's endless in that regard.
Thanks. Thank you. All right. I want to shift a little bit. And now we're going to hear about the ways technology works for some of our panelists, so how they're using technology on a day-to-day basis. I talked about Kevin sharing some pictures, and so Kevin uses his smartphone to get to and from work. So that is one way to use technology for a very, very important activity, right? All right, so we broke it up into 3 different sections. So using technology to connect to the people, places, and things that matter most to the person. And so I'm going to start off with Abby, and Abby is riding the horse. Annalise, who I said you'll hear a little bit later in some of the videos, she's seated between her horse and her pup. And so Abby, can you share some information about the ways you're using technology to connect you to the people, places, and things that matter the most to you?
Absolutely. So for me, technology is a social thing for the most part. With the way we use social media nowadays, Facebook and different things, I like to be able to stay connected to family that's out of town or groups that I'm a part of that I'll speak about later also. For me, it's sharing pictures of the horses that I like to go visit during the week and finding out about social groups that help people with disabilities as well, so that I can connect to people who are in similar situations to me. So it's really a social tool.
And you talked about photos, and like a lot of times I don't even think about the fact that before smartphones, we actually had to use regular cameras and we had to take them to be developed, right, or print, right? And then we all put them in albums. And living in the great state of Louisiana with some of the weather impacts we have, there were many, many, many of us that lost family treasures because photos got destroyed. Can you, or would you be a little comfortable sharing some of the things you've shared in prior discussions with us
absolutely.
about?
Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, my family were victim to a flood from one of the storms that we had. And one of the, I guess, most heartbreaking things about that is a lot of our treasured memories were unfortunately lost due to the floodwaters sitting for days and days and days. And so we lost a lot of treasured photographs and different things that were very important to us, unfortunately. And the way that technology is nowadays, that you have pictures on your phone that maybe you uploaded to social media or you just have them in your camera roll. I got very lucky in that a lot of my most treasured pictures I had shared to social media or I had just stored in my phone. So I was able to still have a lot of those treasured pictures because I had shared them through my cell phone. So I was very relieved by that, and I imparted this to them, that it was definitely one of the most heartbreaking things to watch my parents go through, specifically because a lot of their pictures, they didn't have social media or different places to have these treasured photos that they so loved, and it was so heartbreaking to me to watch them suffer through that loss of those pictures.
Thanks, Abby. So using your phone to save your photos, definitely a gift that is a newer gift for all of us who use technology. I want to give a disclaimer too. I meant to do it at the beginning of the presentation and then I forgot. We aren't promoting any specific brand or type of technology, right? Folks are sharing with you their experiences, the technology that works for them. And so to kind of piggyback off what Yakima had said, you know, the beauty of technology, especially that smart technology, it is so customizable. So what works for me and what I choose to use might look very, very differently from each one of you. So we are not promoting any particular product, but just sort of sharing the various ways we use technology. Thanks, Abby. Okay, so Jamie, can you share some information about the ways in which you use technology to connect to the people, places, and things?
Well, I have to use everything totally hands-free, so I use a nano head mouse and soft type software on my computer to do all of my computer needs as well. I use some dictation, but not quite as much as I used to. And I also, I always did like to game and came across the quad stick. And so I ordered one, and I'm still processing and learning how to program the profiles for each game, but having a great time with it. And so that's, and of course, I use Siri on the cell phone, and that's about it.
I'm glad you brought up about the gaming and brought it up in terms of this section. And as Jamie noted, she's going to talk a little bit more when we get to hobbies and leisure activities. And that's another benefit of technology. Oftentimes, it cuts across multiple life areas and not just one, right? So gaming is an example of that. Thanks so much, Jamie. Felicia, can you share some information on the ways you're using tech?
Yeah, so just to piggyback off of what Jamie said, I use Siri quite a bit. I can use my hands to a certain extent, but I am paralyzed, technically paralyzed below my neck. And sometimes I can't reach my phone in the mornings, or if I drop my phone and no one is around, I can tell Siri to call someone to come get my phone so that they're able to assist me. Another way is just my wheelchair, my motorized wheelchair. I mean, obviously it comes in handy for accessing the community, and if I have to go out to work or, visit someone or go to the store, I of course use my wheelchair. So those are just a couple ways that technology really comes in handy for me.
Thanks, Felicia. Hillary, and I had introduced Hillary to everyone at the beginning and noted she's with Quality. Over the past year, she has actively been working not just as a member of the Technology Supports Focus Group, but as a support coordinator. She's actively been working to help connect folks who are receiving waiver services to some of that newer technology that Christy mentioned earlier. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity in terms of the work you're doing. What have you seen by way from a planning standpoint and a coordination standpoint? What have you seen by way of connecting people to the people, places, and things that matter most to the person?
So for that one, I would say what we're seeing the most is tablets that have internal internet so people can grab community activities.
Okay, I didn't even think of that. Abby, you're nodding, and Yakima, you're nodding. Abby, why are you nodding?
I'm in agreement with her that without technology, some of us would not have the connection to the people, places, and things that we love because we are maybe stuck in our home for whatever reason, or we just can't travel as much as we would like to. I'm lucky in that I live in a family that they take me and we do things and I travel all over, but a lot of people aren't that lucky. So that's what I
Thanks.
was in agreement with.
Thanks, Abby. Yakima, you're nodding too.
Yeah, I was nodding because the tablets being more, I think they are more accessible because they're smaller. They're mobile. You can take them around. They have a lot more flexibility and functionality out of the use of those. We certainly, did see and learn after or during the pandemic, the advanced use for telehealth and being able to communicate and FaceTime and connect with people that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do. And at that time, you had desktops or whatever, maybe even a laptop that's more heavy, more bulky. Tablets are smaller. They're minis. They're just easier to mount onto mount into a chair or fixate to some place, but they have multiple functionality that is just simply more accessible.
Thank you. All right, as I said, there's going to be some overlap across the categories, but now we'll talk about using technology to meet your day-to-day needs. Felicia, I'm going to start with you on that one. So can you share how you're using technology for that?
Sure. So I'm a big proponent of using digital calendars. Um, Honestly, I don't know what I would do without my calendar, but I particularly like it for when I have doctor's appointments and I can go in and log pertinent details, such as the name of the doctor, the date and time. I can even put questions. I oftentimes have questions for my doctor, so I'm able to type in the questions that I want to ask my doctor, as well as maybe what to bring to the doctor. And I also like to set an alert whenever I have appointments, so I'm reminded like a week out or a few days before that the appointment is coming up. I would say another form of technology that I'm a big fan of are those smart locks. I have one on my front door, and I'm able to get it in and out of my house that way. As I stated earlier, I have struggles with using my hands, so I'm able to sort of maneuver my hand in a way so I can press the passcode and get inside my house, as I'm not able to use a standard key. And I do like that ADT, and again, not promoting them, but ADT, and I'm sure some other companies allow you to go in their app and actually unlock your door. And I love this function this feature, because some of us aren't always okay with giving strangers and even caretakers our access codes. So then you're just able to go into the app and unlock the door for them, and they're able to enter the home that way. And I think finally, just virtual platforms. I mean, it's obvious that these platforms have changed the landscape for communication. And I am one of those people who are sometimes like, oh, we need to get together more often in person. But I do realize the importance of having these platforms. This group came together by way of virtual platforms, and we were able to put together a great bank of information. So I think those are so beneficial for obvious reasons. So those are some ways that I use technology in a day-to-day basis.
I appreciate your mentioning the virtual platform. Again, not promoting, we use Zoom. And I other than Yakima and of course Christy, I had not seen face-to-face Jamie, Hillary, Abby, or Felicia until today. So it is amazing the relationships and connections that you can cultivate at times with people that live far away from you, that when you do get the chance to get together, you know, you have a whole history because you've had that opportunity to connect in a way that would not have happened if we were forced to you know, meet in person every time we wanted to talk. And that virtual aspect through video does add a more personalized element than just, say, picking up the phone and calling someone, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but to see people in real time, even virtually, is a wonderful way to connect. Okay, so Jamie, how do you use technology in your day-to-day activities?
Well, I use it for the computer at all times, for emailing, and of course the virtual platforms. I have used smart locks before. Well, I had one smart lock, and it died, and we didn't know it. My caregiver had stepped out of the house, and I got locked in. So it caused a bit of a problem, but and I haven't gotten another smart lock since. But I plan on changing those things. So yeah, I do look forward to looking into more technology for my day-to-day life.
I think you bring up a couple of good points. As with any support, as with any tool that we use, there's risk, right, that you need to think about. When we travel in vehicles every day, there's a risk there, but you got to get from place to place, right? So with technology, that becomes a part of thinking about, okay, well, I'm going to try this, but what happens if it stops working or I get locked in? What am I going to do, right? So I think the important, huh?
How'd you get them in?
We called the locksmith.
So again, another great point, handling it the way you'd handle any sort of, you know, emergency. You know, and you talk about what you're going to do, and you called the locksmith, and you got out, and you're here. And then she also, I thought you made a great point about the comfort level too. You know, it takes some time to get used to technology, especially when it's smart technology. And then of course there's updates, right? Some colleagues we were talking about, I think Bernard had mentioned the iPhone, and we're on the 17th or whatever version. And it's like, there are times when it's like, well, can we just stick with the version we have and get that to work before we jump? So, you know, there's the evolving aspect of this smart technology and the need to keep up with it. And at times it's uncomfortable. So figuring out, you know, what is your level of comfort? How do you navigate that? Abby, how about you?
So for me, it's medication reminders, because I am on medication that I take daily. So oftentimes I have to make sure that, you know, I'm taking those medications on the times that I'm supposed to. As I mentioned earlier, I do have an extensive social calendar. So a lot of mine is calendar, making sure I have dates that are written down when I'm going places, or I'm meeting with friends, or going to the many Keith Urban concerts that I like to go to. So a lot of my use is for social life and that type of thing.
Thanks. Hillary, I'm reflecting on a convo we had some time ago about smart blinds and things like that. Can you share some information about that?
So we've had several people that have done assessments and gotten automatic blinds. So they can tell their blinds, let's say, Alexa, can you close my blinds? And it closes the blinds. And when they're ready for them to be open, they say Alexa and their blinds open. This particular person is a quadriplegic, so he can't do it himself. He also has all of his lights set up for that. So he can say, lower my lights, higher my lights. His hospital bed is hooked up to it, so he can say, raise my hospital bed, lower my hospital bed. And his TV is hooked up onto it. So it says, change the channel, and it changes his TV channel.
I like that example. That's a nice example of the crossover between the day-to-day needs that must be met, but also the hobby sort of leisure kind of needs too, and the ability to cut across both areas. Okay, so Annalise is going to share some information with us about how she uses technology by way of apps.
So for me personally, the technology I use the most is note taking, like the Notes app on my cell phone, because I am scatterbrained and I think best at night. So I jot down every little idea I think of and I follow up with it the next day so I can go back and organize my thoughts. Another one that I use a lot is the timer or the clock app to set alarms. So like today for this meeting, I had to set an alarm so I didn't forget about it. Those two are probably the ones I use the most personally.
And you talked about using that app to remember the meeting today. I would imagine that those types of devices are useful to you for college too, right? For school.
Oh, absolutely. I use them especially to set blocks of time. At this time, I'm going to study this subject for however long and then take a break because your brain can only take so much learning in it at one time. I rely heavily on those, and especially setting 20-minute timers of I have to leave by this time to make it on time to class.
And one of the things that stands out to me about the devices that you're talking about, they seem relatively inexpensive. Some of those options may be free for people to try, right?
Actually, both are. I have an iPhone, so both were free, came on the phone, work great. But I've also used Word, and most of the time you can download that for free and use it without paying for subscriptions or anything. And you can get alarm clocks anywhere. And if you're a physical person, you can get a physical alarm clock. I'm not. I lose things, so.
And Annalise also had some information about using power banks.
I think one thing to keep in mind is we do live in Louisiana, so the weather's a little all over the place. We do need to monitor the weather for these people and have them have access to charging banks, ways to charge their technology to last if there were a power outage. So they would be covered and not struggling in the middle of a weather event, the power going out, just something like that. Because I personally use power banks all the time. They're a lifesaver.
And between what Annalise shared and what Felicia and Jamie and Abby shared by way of using those apps for alarms, your calendar, and just thinking about the various range of tech. You know, back in the day, I was infamous for using those sticky notes, and they would be all around my computer monitor, but it was a system, right? It helped me stay on track. And that is technology. That's old school technology, right? And I am someone who, despite using smart technology to a certain degree, I still get a little nervous. Well, what if that alarm doesn't go off? Or what if I put it in the calendar, but I didn't save it. So what if it gets lost? I don't want to miss that meeting. So I've got my smartphone, and I'm using those apps, and I've still got my sticky notes. So again, it's a combination of technology, and you're using what is most comfortable, you know, for you. And I think we saved this area for last because it's the good stuff. This is the stuff that for all of us, these types of activities, that along with connecting to other people, these are the things that sustain us and help us achieve meaningful lives and purpose. So we're going to talk a little bit about how technology connects to hobbies and leisure. And Yakima, kind of thinking about what you had said earlier, technology is not a leisure item for people. If technology is to be used as a tool to help support someone live as independent of a life as possible and to connect with the people, places, and things and activities that matter most, it isn't a leisure option. It's as essential as drinking water and eating food, right? You need that to sustain you. So, all right, so let's talk about hobbies and leisures. Jamie, I'm going to start with you for this one.
Yes, the controller. So, of course, I mentioned gaming, and the quad stick has really helped a lot. And it's a total hands-free gaming controller that allows me to do gaming either in PC or any of the consoles. And so it's it's fun, and it's an outlet that I didn't think that I would ever have. Recently, there's been actually a documentary on HBO about some guys. They call themselves the Quad Gods, who use the quad stick for some I think some tournaments in games, and so not promoting it, but just, a lot of us use it for that, and that's mostly. I do want to look into some other activities. I talked to Amy earlier about possibly getting into some photography. I know there are sip and puff mechanisms for people who want to hunt, and I'm almost certain that they can find some sip and puff mechanisms to operate a camera and get into some photography. So,
yeah, interestingly enough, so Jamie was having lunch and she's like, Amy, I want to get into photography. What can we do to make this happen? And I said, you know what? I don't know, but Yakima will be here in 5 minutes, and I bet she will. And so Yakima comes in, and I said, Yakima, she wants to do photography. And what did you say, Yakima?
I said that it's possible. If she is comfortable with sip and puff, then we need to find a camera that is compatible with sip and puff. And that's definitely going to be a yes. There's an option out there and available. And so it's one of those activities. I want to say something about, Jamie, you're using Xbox?
I can use it.
Is that who you're gaming with, or is it?
I've been mostly using PC recently.
PC? Okay.
But I do have an Xbox, and I've gamed on Xbox, yes.
Okay. I was just curious about that because the Microsoft platforms have been they were first to talk about adaptive gaming, and that's what's useful for us. But that also brings me to, if I can just go back to something and add in about the specific, we continue to say that we're not being specific to a brand of technology or promoting any one brand. There are oftentimes someone or an organization is first on the market with something, and that's the only option that there is. And so you're not necessarily promoting, but then that's all there is. And they're getting better and better with that particular type of technology that they've developed. And then later on down the line, there are going to be other manufacturers that come on the market to develop whatever is there. And so, as Jamie was talking about Microsoft, I mean, I know she said PC, but it's Microsoft, right? And so they were the ones, coming up with adaptive equipment, and it's taken off for the last couple of years. And so until the other folks catch up, that's who's doing it right now. But yes, when you think about, and as you plan and talk about these things, most of what I've heard my colleagues say here are about mainstream technologies that all of us have access to use. More and more we're using Alexa. When I'm using these things, even I saw your glasses, your Ray-Bans. And so out on our table, there are the Meta glasses for people that are blind or low vision, that folks are just using it to take pictures with, but it actually has a microphone that's speaking to tell you who's in front of you, or to read the environment to say, hey, watch your step as you're walking. And so the more mainstream these technologies are, the more we all think about, just as humans, we're all using them. And so therefore, they can be used for in planning today and in the future for the people that we all serve. And it just becomes naturally,
Thanks for adding that, Yakima. And I think that is a helpful reminder, too, for technology where there is just one manufacturer or company. That is what it is. The benefit is they're perfecting that technology before perhaps it extends to other companies or manufacturers. And what excited me about the conversation with Jamie at lunch is that, we all need to dream big about our lives and to think about the things that we're interested in, the things that maybe we don't know how to do very well yet, right? But we're interested in them and we want to explore that. And so I get very excited when people say, you know what, I want to get more into this and I want to see how technology can support me to do that. Those are the kinds of conversations that we all need to be having, because that is how we get more comfortable with technology, and that's how we all learn about the potential of technology. Okay, so Felicia, can you share some information about hobbies and leisures in tech?
Yeah, so I don't think I have anything as cool as what Jamie and Abby has to share. So I'll just keep it short. I like online shopping. Amazon I'm pretty sure you know everything about my life at this point. It's kind of sad. I'm trying to nip that in the bud. But yeah, I enjoy shopping on Amazon for a plethora of things, from medical to more leisure items like skincare, as well as Walmart and Whole Foods. I like to get the chantilly cakes and chocolate covered strawberries and all those good things. But yeah, I'll just keep it short in saying that, if someone's struggling to access the community, definitely check out those more on-demand services. I think one of the major drawbacks to those services are the fees. I'm hoping one day companies take into consideration some of the limitations that some people have, and can maybe do some sort of cost analysis or more cost effectiveness when it comes to certain folks to mitigate those extra fees and help us out. But other than that, that's my tidbit on leisure and tech.
In my opinion, shopping is always an important contribution. So, all right, Abby, can you share some information about using tech for your hobbies and leisure activities?
Yes. So specifically for me, it's finding out about groups that I wouldn't have known about unless I had technology. specifically one that I had written down was a group called Ski Dogs. They allow for people with disabilities to do adaptive water skiing. And one of the unfortunate things, I guess you would say, is if not for technology, I would not have known about them because they're not a mainstream group. They're a nonprofit, so they're not one of these highly advertised groups. So luckily for me, I was able to find out. I initially found out about them through a friend, but I found their Facebook page, and that is where they post all their dates to go to their ski clinics, and I'm able to keep up with when they're having their clinics so that I can go out and be with their group, and specifically with my dad, it's kind of become our thing. So I just think about the fact that if not for technology, I would not have known about them. So how many more groups or events are there for people with disabilities that we would not know about if Facebook or, Google wasn't a thing? Like, how would we find out about these groups? And I hope that it becomes a more mainstream thing, that we can find out about groups like Ski Dogs, that people like us can join and have a more fulfilled life.
And as you can see on the screen, Abby submitted some photos of her enjoying some hobby and leisure activities. Thanks, Abby. All right, so we thought it might be helpful if we left you all with some tips, some things to think about when using technology, and especially smart technology. Abby, I'm going to start with you on this one, because you had talked about the importance of having a backup plan with smart tech, which is kind of an extension of what Annalise was sharing by way of power banks. But can you share some tips for us in terms of backup?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things I think we had talked about in our conversations was technology fails us, right? If you lose Wi-Fi, you lose internet, right? So we need to have backup plans such as the ability to go somewhere to seek internet if we don't have it. Even your car is a form of technology, so if your car's not working, you can't get somewhere to seek out those places that would have Wi-Fi for you to use. We've talked about losing lights in a storm, so what do you do if the lights go out? You need a flashlight, right? That's technology. We've talked about, some of the things I specifically talk about is medication reminders. If my phone's not working, I can't get my medication reminders, so what are you going to do? You need a calendar, You don't think about this stuff until it happens to you, So you need to really think about, okay, if my phone's not working, what am I going to do? Who am I going to seek out to help me? So I think that for me, it's those types of things, always being one step ahead of, if this thing goes out, what do I do? And so I've put in place, if my phone's not working, if the lights go out, luckily I have parents that can remind me, hey, you need to take your medicine at this time. Hey, you need to, go do your medical stuff at this time, So just having those safeguards in place is really important to me in the event of again, we live in Louisiana, hurricanes are a thing. So you have to really have some safeguards in place.
Thanks, Abby. And Hillary, can you add to that, especially given all the conversations you've been having with people around technology and some tips and stuff? Yeah.
So Annalise talked about power banks, and power banks can be as small as your cell phone, or you can get really large ones that cost $200, but they can charge multiple devices. So the people that use the life-saving equipment, they need those larger power banks. They need those generators. So it's important to talk about those. Abby talked about medication reminders. So she uses her phone. We have several people that have big old medication reminder systems. So you can put in 15 pills and it reminds you 3 times a day. Well, if you lose power, it's not going to beep at all, right? So you have to have a backup system of a check mark and be able to get into the keys. And those are all things that you have to plan for.
In terms of tips also, Hillary, have you experienced when talking with family members or caregivers or providers concerns around, well, what if, what happens? Like, how do you navigate so that, you're keeping in mind the person's goals and needs, but yet also accounting for the layer of support with the person has some concerns. So how have you navigated that part of the discussion?
So I kind of go back to, it's looking at your phone. Going back 15 years, we didn't have a smartphone. So we're putting this in place. It's going to be really nice. But if the power goes off for 2 days, we're still going to know how to do it the old-fashioned way. So it might be boring for 2 days, but eventually we'll go back to, we'll have power, we'll have internet. For internet, you can buy, I'm going to call it a hotspot. I'm sure it's more complex than that are big old internet. So if a storm comes, you can still have internet.
That's really helpful information to have. And Yakima, I see you're nodding over there.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. There are also the portable solar generators. If you don't have one for your home, the portable ones also can charge in the event of a storm. There's always planning that we have to do in terms of emergency response. Emergency preparedness that we just do just in general. Whether we're talking about technology or not is just the course of where we are. But we think about this because of where we are when we're thinking about someone having to be really reliant upon a particular type of technology, as Hillary said, nebulizers or, small appliances. That needs to be just simply a part of what you do in planning and what you put in place. I think you wouldn't do it otherwise. If you got that technology, then there is a backup for it as well. And then when we think about things that are some smart tech, a lot of smart tech has they're wireless, but we also look for solutions that are coupled with the battery too. So those old-fashioned AA's, that are still there, they come in handy, like those medication reminder systems. And so the backups are in place as well.
Those solar panel ones can be used in an apartment. I have 2 clients that have them in an apartment.
And who knew? I didn't, because I don't go camping, but they were used for camping. And so the hunters they've had this type of stuff already, to light up a small space, et cetera. Now we start to think about it differently. We want to be able to plug in our cell phones or plug in something that we need, a nebulizer or whichever, CPAP machine in case there's a storm. All these things have multiple functions, all the technologies.
Thanks. And since we're talking, okay, go ahead, Kevin. I know.
Thank you, sister. To you, I understand what you're saying. I trust you. technology is more simple. People don't understand how to use it. Me, I can track the bus anywhere it comes to how it get from point A to point B. People got to realize children who in wheelchairs had that more respect to get on the bus first before any passenger get on the bus. You cannot cut in front of somebody who's in a wheelchair. Because if you disrespect that person in the wheelchair, how you gonna get respect back? Because that's being ugly, because you got to respect that person's space. Because that person in the wheelchair, you don't know where it can go. It can go forward, it can go backwards. But you gotta understand one thing, you gotta treat people with more respect, you get respect back.
I appreciate that comment, Kevin. Yes, we all need to learn how do we respect the person who's using technology and they're being able to use it without interference. That's a good point. Thank you. And since we've also been talking about Wi-Fi, I wanted to show you Annalise.
I think one thing to also keep in mind if you're going to use technology or even think about it, Wi-Fi, of course, is a must, and almost everyone nowadays does have Wi-Fi, but we need to keep in mind places like the library, we can get free Wi-Fi, or some restaurants even have free Wi-Fi. So if they need to in an event, such as their house power goes out or something like that, they have access to Wi-Fi to use the technology that they need.
She also has some tips in terms of where do you start, right, if you're thinking about using tech.
My one key piece of advice would be it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You don't have to go dive in head first into this world of technology. You can start slow and add it into your routine to make sure it's a good fit for you. So it can be in addition to your lifestyle, not in place of how you go about your entire day. You can just add in an alarm clock here to see if it works for maybe a medicine routine, and then slowly add in more as you get comfortable and see what fits you best. It's not a cookie cutter approach to it either. You can add what works best for you.
And then also some tips about comfort and cost.
Technology is something that not everyone's comfortable with, and I understand that. So we can just start slow.
Were you always comfortable with technology, or?
I grew up in the generation that were a little bit more comfortable with it, but as I get older, I'm dipping into a little bit more of the technology, trying to get comfortable with it, and I go slow.
So essentially, you found devices or types of tech that you could start with that you felt comfortable doing. And as you've continued to use it, you're using more of it and getting more comfortable with the new things that you're learning with technology.
Yes. And I try stuff before I buy it. So like I'll see if someone else has it to make sure it's a good fit.
That's actually a great tip, right? So you're not putting out money or using funds for something that
I'm not going to use.
That might not be right for you. That makes a lot of sense, Annalise.
Like I'm big into camera equipment. So I knew someone that had a drone and I tried theirs out before I ever bought my own.
I always giggle when I watch that video because when she talks about being from the generation, that it's true, right? I am not from the generation. The tech wasn't around when I was Annalise's age. So, I think that's another important distinction too. We may have loved ones or we may be supporting people who are younger than us that can access that tech in a different way than some of us can. So how do we get comfortable supporting that person to do that? And what do we need to learn so that any support that we need to give around healthy use of that technology, we're able to offer that. Oh, Yakima wants in on this action. Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me? So the the training and being comfortable with the technology also, it doesn't just include the user. It includes a family member, a caregiver. If you're working with kids, it's their buddy that sits next to them, always in the classroom. That's useful. Everyone gets comfortable using the technology, and it's often done together along the way. And direct service professionals as well.
Thanks. That's a helpful tip to add. And before I forget, if you all haven't seen Latan, they have a booth in the hall, so you can go and get some more information there too if you haven't already. Jamie, any helpful tips that you want to add?
Really?
Thanks. All right. Felicia, what about you?
I guess just a couple things. I like protective devices such as the coverings that go over your phones. I just purchased another one for my phone about 2 weeks ago, and it already has about 10 cracks in it, and that's just from me dropping my phone on the floor. So I'm sure many of you are aware of those protective devices, but I cannot stress them enough how they save your phones and your tablets, especially if you don't buy that insurance like I don't. I think to replace an iPhone screen can run you $100 plus easily. The only other thing I can say is just to try to take care of your technology the best you can. I mean, I know it's pretty cliche, but I think about the ramp on my van. I try not to zoom up and down it real fast when I'm going in and out of my car, or let it get inundated with water. So I'm trying to extend the life of the ramp. So those are just a couple points to take note of as well.
Those are great tips, yeah. All right, I'm being told we're at the 2-minute mark, although I thought we were going till 2:15. No? Okay. The one question in terms of tips that I do want to ask for anyone on the panel to address before we move to the wrap-up. Every time, at least I've been part of a tech conversation, the question of technology that has privacy and safety features, how do you navigate that? And we've talked about the importance of having backup plans. Has that come up either for any of you who are using technology, or Hillary, has that come up in some of the conversations you've had? Some tech has like the privacy, the drop-in features, and so concerns about people hacking, for lack of a better word, into the technology, and some concerns around that. 2:15? Okay, thanks.
So I haven't had anybody that was necessarily concerned from that. Most of the people I know, they wanted the voice activation to be able to use it that way.
Okay.
Same for me. I'm lucky in that I haven't had to worry about that, but I do understand it being a concern for some people. But I'm lucky.
There's some. Oh, were you getting to Jamie? So we constantly, just as AT professionals, are thinking about surveillance and monitoring and the ethical issues that are associated with privacy. And there are apps that we are aware that can actually, that just needs, I would say this, that just simply need to have precautions in place to protect someone's privacy, even in terms of what you're able to hear when that app is being used. For instance, if it's for emergency, mobile emergency response or GPS tracking for safety, there's sometimes ways that you can be heard and being surveilled without your knowledge of that. We put that as a part of the training and education as terms of how to use the device itself to protect privacy.
Okay. So, a takeaway tip for sure, if you are concerned about those safety pieces, those are the moments that, even if you know that's the type of tech that I'm interested in using, there are AT professionals like Latan that can help navigate and mitigate against those concerns so that you have the option to use the technology, but you're still safeguarding it from those concerns. I like this as the final quote because I think it sums up everything that we've talked about today. Again, technology is not a luxury. It can be a part of what we use to support us to have the most meaningful, connected life of our choosing. It cuts across settings, right? Our home, where we work, where we play, and really can take us to a different level of independence than where we were before using that technology.
Can I say something to that?
Yes, please.
So I realized that it was right at about 10 years ago that technology, by and large, was not covered by insurance even, besides the durable medical equipment that we think about every day, wheelchairs, walkers, canes, but the types of technologies that we're really, that even Latan had available and knew that was on the market was just simply not covered by insurance. And it literally was 10 years ago that speech generating devices were covered. And if you all remember, that was through the advocacy work from the Gleason Foundation, from Steve Gleason, who lives with ALS today, that got Medicaid, Medicare to actually cover those devices. And here we are now thinking about this. And so I was really proud of Annalisa's quote because it aligns very much so with what OCDD has done with expanding waiver services to include the adaptive equipment. It's just simply, it aligns with the trends of where we are. It means that technology isn't a luxury. It's an enabler, and it helps people gain independence. Doesn't remove people or the use of people, obviously, because we all can't just rely on the tech. We've said that. But it certainly helps to be more independent, right? So I just thought that her quote was very thoughtful.
Thanks, Yakima. All right, Kevin had started us off on the Q&A portion, so we have time for a couple of questions before we vacate so they can set up for the next session, which yes, right? Yes, yes. All right, anybody? Thank you. We have 10 minutes for questions. Yes.
So with wheelchairs and like the backup plan or emergency plan, how do y'all charge your wheelchairs in that case?
I've never really, I keep mine charged all the time, so I haven't really.
During Ida or Katrina, when you lost power, how did you charge?
I didn't have any problems. I didn't run into, I was in Lafayette, so.
I keep mine charged pretty much all the time as well. If I have to evacuate, I just take my charger with me. Yeah, I haven't really run into many problems. And as I said earlier, I think it's just a point in just taking care of the charger to the best of my ability. Now, did that answer your question, or were you talking about a specific scenario? Okay. Just making sure.
Chrissy's going to get her exercise today.
I need my steps.
Okay.
Because I'm her mother, I have a big mouth. So if we have that problem, we have generators. So what I usually do as mother, I plug it up, and she also, we were talking about Wi-Fi, we have a hotspot because we have a food truck. So I would take that because she's gonna go crazy if she can't get that Wi-Fi in. So we have an extra hotspot through Verizon that she can use, and we just automatically turn that on. But we always have the generator where she can, plug the wheelchair up or whatever we need for everything to be accessible for her,
A
So,
tip on that. My phone and its
Already have one.
hotspot is through AT&T. My hotspot that I use for that is through Verizon. So if AT&T goes down, I have Verizon. Like the other day, Verizon wasn't working, but my AT&T was. Correct. Somebody over here had a question.
We're thinking about supporting people at home while balancing monitoring and privacy. Are the meta glasses being used to support people at home?
We're just starting to, we've not worked with anyone within this population yet using meta glasses. We have someone who's actually outside and she uses meta glasses, and this second generation of those have an AI feature, an artificial intelligence feature. It will not surveil and tell you who's in front of you. So there are glasses out there on the desk actually that will say, that's Yakima walking up. Meta will not do that anymore. And so it has some built-in protections in this next generation that are to protect someone's privacy automatically.
And I was thinking more in terms of, and maybe I don't understand what meta glasses do because I'm old. But so I was thinking, if we're doing technology to have a DSP check in on someone who's in SIL, for example, I'm thinking, is there a way for someone else to see what you're seeing? So if I have the glasses on and I need to take medicine, I can see that you're doing it properly. Like
we
rather
have
than
one.
looking at you, I'm seeing what you see. Does that make sense?
So I don't have anybody that uses a camera, like the glasses camera, but I have somebody that has a camera set up and they take their medications in front of the camera and their facilitator can see it. So they have a split schedule. They need to take their 3 p.m. medications in front of the camera so the staff can see it. Well, the facilitator can see it.
I was just trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
Okay, with the glasses.
Yeah, different from the meta glasses. They were originally just pictures. So they were glasses without prescription. Now you can get them with prescription, but they have a little bitty camera on them that now has some additional features for people with low vision. And so, but it's from the user's interaction with whatever it is that they actually see, not necessarily from the observer watching them. But there are other technologies that allow for safety with taking medications, or even to just simply save, like a tablet that's outside. LEQ is out there, and so she will call you, and you can be on the other side of that camera saying, Yakima, did you take your medicine? And just pop in as if you were FaceTiming someone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Be My Eyes is also a really good app that's very low cost. You've heard of Be My Eyes? Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Oh, I'm sorry. One more, yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for families who might be interested in technology that utilizes Wi-Fi, but maybe they struggle to cover financially internet, especially in very rural areas? Sometimes the only internet available is the really high-cost internet. I know there was the Affordable Care Act during COVID, and unfortunately, I think that's mostly ended.
The Internet for All
Yes.
program has ended. Some companies offer lower cost options. That's going to vary by area. As you note, sometimes in the rural areas, it's a little bit harder. I don't have any specific companies that I can recommend, but you could explore options through different ones. I don't know if anybody else has heard of any other.
Right now, Consumer Cellular is one of them. I can't tell you off the top of my head what I don't know their rates. They are nationwide, and they do have some deeply discounted rates, especially for older adults and for people with disabilities. I see stores popping up around Baton Rouge, but they used to only work through, or the operation was, it's a nationwide company, but you could access it by your nearest Target. And I was just trying to help someone in Alexandria this past weekend, and it's no longer in that Target anymore, and it's not on the list. So I'm not sure, but we'd have to explore that a little bit further to see. But for sure, I know that the rates are low. It's about $15.
Thanks, Yakima. All right, and on that note, we will close today. We thank you all for coming and listening. We hope we've left you with some ideas about technology and some things to think about. And on behalf of the panel, thank you all.